Hello, welcome back to AG Engineering. I'm Aid. We're back onto the Clarkson tool and cutter grinder now. I've not done anything to it for quite a while, but the weather's improving, so I'm tending to come out into the garage a little bit again. I've done a little bit of research, as you probably know if you watched the previous videos, with a lot of information from Stephen Vine at bedroomworkshop.com. Very useful source of information for these machines. I've got a few pictures. This is what we're going to attempt to make a version of today, the centre brackets, and I can't find any dimensions for these, so I'm going to go in a little bit of an educated guess. Looking at this photo here, there's it seems to be roughly a centre height, measuring it on my machine from the same view, of about 3.5, 3¾ inches, something like that to there, which is not that critical a dimension because this head moves up and down anyway. He's obviously there sharpening quite a big cutter, and the table, when you look, I'll take you over to the machine in a minute, it has to be quite a way in, and if you see that, you're starting on a smaller cutter, you have to be quite a way in, and you're starting to overhang the dovetails on there. So the later ones, which we can see there in the bottom picture, they altered slightly and they made them bolt on at the front of the T-slot and sit back over the bed there to get them closer in, presume for ease of smaller cutters and making it a little bit more sturdy. But that bed looks like the T-slot's either further towards the front or it's wider at the back. So I'll show you what I mean when we're over at the other at our machine. That's about it. Another couple of pictures there of what we're attempting to make on these centre brackets. It's got to be a little bit of working with what we've got. I've got a little bit of 20mm silver steel there, which would be ideal for making the centres themselves, and we've got plenty of sort of 35mm, 40mm free machining steel under the bench. So I'm kind of aiming for something along them lines was my initial plan. 3.5 inch centre height, a flat plate at the bottom with a bolt through, another piece, a strut if you like, to support a piece of round stock to hold the two centres. There's no dimensions on there other than the basic centre height, and probably about 2.5 inches long. Everything else I'll pretty much make up as we go along. There'll be a tab underneath, a T-slot guide underneath, probably bolted on, tapped into this piece of steel here, and then a through hole for a T-nut or T-bolt in this case. And that's about it. Now, whether or not I offset these and instead of welding this on in the middle, weld it on the side so that it moves our centre brackets closer to the grinding head, I'll see as I go along. So let me just move the camera over to the tool and cutter grinder and go through a few bits on there. Right, now apologies if the framing of this this shot is all over the place, but I'm doing this without the Wi-Fi on because that audio interference. So there's our picture view as it was in that old photo there from the Clarkson manual. as you can see, we're roughly just below centre there at 3.5 inches, and we're about below centre there the same. So I think about 3.5 inches in height will do it. This at the moment's got a cup grinding wheel on. I've got a plain grinding wheel as well. These are another one of my China purchases. These are diamond grindstones. So I've been aiming to use these. I've got this one, I've got that one, I've got a thin taper one, and I've made adapters to suit the Clarkson tool there. So when we're going to be grinding our or regrinding our reamers, for example, we want to be looking at the, again, I've not done this, so it's all a little bit educated guess. We want to sort of be about there to grind. We're grinding down away from the edge, and the curve of the stone is putting a little bit of relief angle onto the reamer flute there. So I'm aiming to be about there. That at the moment is just short of the end of its travel, and if I was over the centre line of that T slot, I would have to be right the way in there with this size of wheel to do that, size of reamer. I think it might be an advantage to move them slightly forward, and I'll also have to look for probably a 6-inch wheel as well to give me a little bit more space, because we can come right over there. There's loads of room this way. So yeah, I'll probably modify the brackets, do the boss is about there, come off the boss onto the side of a piece of steel plate with the threaded hole, the through hole in. So we're a 20mm reamer. Hopefully that will do the bore for the centres to go through. If not, I'll bore them. So the next thing will be quickly back over to the bench. The next thing will be how we get these balls in line. So I'm thinking at this stage of whether to build it as one piece, 2 brackets, and literally bore through and ream, and literally after it's built cut it in half, and then we know our centre height is the same. By the other way, I could bore and ream the steel, and when it's assembled I can mill the bottom face off as a complete assembly. Whichever way I end up doing it, we've got to make sure obviously our centre heights are identical. Now for the centres themselves, plan to use this in the absence of anything else. Obviously I want a 60° point on there. I can roughly turn that and get it close. I could actually probably even take this into work. We've got a cylindrical grinder there. I'll probably put a 60° ground point on it, and then once I'm happy with it, I'll harden and temper this piece of silver steel, or the 2 pieces of silver steel, for our centres. For clamping them, it'll just be a tapped hole, and the original Clarkson thing was sort of a T bar arrangement. I'll be fine with a cap screw or something along them lines. So I think I'll find some materials out and get some rough cutting dimensions sorted, and we'll chop some stock up and see where we go. So as usual, back in a little while. Right, hopefully you can see where we're sort of going with this. I say I'll probably build it up as a complete thing, then cut it in half, so we're on centre line. I'm going to go, and I think I'll put a flat along there, so it sits nice and flat on there. I've ended up a little tiny bit shorter than my original centre height, but it'll be okay. I'll see what it looks like with the flat on, and then what I'll probably do is get a pilot hole all the way through there. So back over to the mill. Right, there we are, nice flat on there. That'll sit nicely on there. In fact, probably won't need, I'll put a little bit of a bevel on there just to get a weld along there, then I'll get a good fillet on that. I think now I'll get a hole drilled through it and see what that looks like. I'll do it on a lathe. Right, we'll set up for getting a hole down the middle of it. Set up for drilling the centre drill here in the normal manner. I'm through with a 10mm long series drill. Nearly there. I'll check the length before I start. I should just about get it. Ooh, just probably about 1/8 of an inch to spare. Okay. We'll set up with something like a 19.5 now and go through with that. Set up with a Morse taper 49/64, which is a little under 19.5mm. We're in a reducing sleeve down to MT2 or MT3, and we've got an MT3 extension on there as well. The lathe's been slowed down. Plenty of lube on there, and we'll go through with that one. That's it, definitely through that this time. I was off the end of the thread on the tailstock last time. Right, get that out, clean it up, and see where we go for the next stage. Right, slight revision of plan. I think while it's in the lathe, I'll put the reamer through it. Then I'll probably have to re-ream after welding anyway, in case there's any distortion. But I'm going to TIG weld it and take it steady, so I'll try and keep distortion to a minimum. I haven't got a chuck big enough to hold the reamer, a normal chuck, so I'll put it in an ER collet chuck. Just got a 20mm, it's just over 20mm there, about 20.5mm. Just got it into a 20mm collet. I haven't got a taper. This is ER32 MT3 for the mill. That's a screw-in tang to adapt it to the lathe tailstock. Just if people out there have never seen such a thing, can't remember where it came from, maybe Euro Trade, I think it was, off the top of my head. So we'll get that in and set up. Well, we're set up, we're slowed down again. I've just took the initial cuts there. So again, as for the drilling, we'll go take a cut, back out, clear the chips, lubricate, and back in again. Okay, I'm in as deep as I can get there. I'm up to that ground portion of the reamer, and unfortunately it's not ground less than the 20mm ream in diameter, so probably have to re-ream when it's cut in two. I think it must be close. Let me just get the bottom plate. We're probably about, considering there's a taper portion up to that point, and we're up to there, so we're a good 2/3 of the way, maybe 3/4 through the second part. So yeah, that can be finished off later on. I can set that up and just pass through it again. As I say, you probably have to get it in camera shot. There you go. Yeah, so we're up to about that point. There's the start of the lead on the reamer. So I'll finish that off separately when we cut it in two pieces. Right, I'll get that out this time, and we'll clean up and see what the next stage is. Right, the story so far, we've got our base part, our two uprights, and a piece of tube now, which is reamed through for the most part, just that little end bit to finish off in there with a flat on it, and that sits there. Next, I need to, before I start to assemble this, I need to put a parallel groove down the underside of there to register in the table slot. So I've found a little piece of steel there that, if I take you over to the grinder again, hopefully that's in the picture, I'm guessing, is just a nice fit in the T-slots there. there's a little bit of a burr on this bottom edge that just needs cleaning off. So a couple of pieces of that will fit nice. That's nice and nice fit into there. So I'll get a groove milled in to the underside. So back over to the mill again. Piece is clamped in the milling vise. I've set it an arbitrary distance from the edge there. It doesn't really matter that much, but we're closer to that side. It's been set up on parallels. The milling vise is trammed in, so we know we're going parallel to the workpiece. And I've got a 12mm cutter there. I'll do a couple of passes, get a groove roughly in, and then I'll just take a little bit more off until we reach our about 1/2 inch. I think it's probably about 12.6, that piece of plate, that just slides in nicely. And I'll just go across there until we've milled a slot. Right, so slot a few millimetres deep. That's all we'll need. I'll just step it over now until I get a nice sliding fit for that piece. Right, there we go. There's that bit slotting in there. So while we've got it in here, I'll drill the holes for bolting this down and for the T nuts to pass through, the T bolts to pass through.